Yo, what's poppin', everybody? It's the No Level Cap podcast. We back once again with the crew. I want y'all to give me just a minute to introduce my incredible co-hosts. We got the collector of collectors and the master of Twitch, Will Coleman. What's going on, what's going on, Will?
He almost called me the website Twitch. Damn, that's
I
crazy.
did. I did.
You heard it here first, ladies and
He's
gentlemen.
so
I am
good,
now
he
Twitch.
embodies the whole website.
He's Mr. Twitch, you know.
Yeah, but no, I'm doing all right, man. Just played a little Infernax earlier, and that shit is hard.
I heard you back to streaming, man. What you playing right now?
It's just doing some simple little stuff. Apex, Dead by Daylight. Then it's gonna be back to the playthrough grind, and then it's gonna be, I kind of got a formula to how I want to do it for the time being, and I'll probably be doing some events if they pop up. So come see.
Back to getting crushed by them the multiplayer games. So I feel you.
Yeah, back to getting my heart broken, and stick drift.
Oh no, yeah, man. Stick drift is terrible, man. Like they controllers cost so much now. I be trying. I'm like, man, I just don't want to buy another controller. But the stick drift on mine is horrible. Like I can't even. It's it's so bad now. It's starting to detract from turn-based games.
Yeah,
like it'll be like, hey, here's the AOE spell, and then all of a sudden it just go off, and I'm like, hold on, it was hitting the whole group. Now it ain't hitting nobody. Like, wait a minute. So I don't want to drop that. I think 60 for a DS4. I don't want to drop that, but like, I it's looking like I ain't got a choice because this stick drift is horrible. Next up, we got the Black Daredevil and the secret weapon of No Level Cap, Terrence Flowers. What's good, Terrence?
Yo, man, I'm good. I've definitely been paying attention to some of the games. Well, one of the games that Xbox released this week, and it's been fun to watch it through various Twitch streams and whatnot. I know we're going to talk about it, so I won't go into too much detail. But yeah, doing pretty well this evening.
Hey, that's what I want to hear. Next up, we got the living cartoon and the man with the golden voice, Rakeem Beck. Rakeem, I heard you seen some at the Elder Scrolls thing that you wanted to talk about. How'd you like the Elder Scrolls show up?
I think it's interesting. There's a new class going to be introduced in this expansion, the Arcanist. I for one, that's something I've been looking forward to know some more content to the game. There's been a lot of expansions, like an expansion every year, but I kind of wanted to see a new class. The last class we received, I believe, was the Necromancer. That was a few years ago. I was excited seeing it. However, in the undertones of that, there's been a lot of like negativity in the Elder Scrolls Online community. Last year, I think around the summer or something like that, there was a major change to the battle system. I think the developers changed some of the cadences to how the battle system worked, and some of the skill gap that people that liked, the older players, the more seasoned players liked were removed, and they did not really didn't like that. More of a number of different issues they've had, maybe with some bug issues, some issues with like PvP content, and focuses on the campaigns people weren't really interested in. Like, they added the card game last year. Some people liked it. I liked the card game, but I could tell a lot of communities did not care about it that much, or like tried it once and never touched it. So there's been a lot of discontent in the Elder Scrolls community, and it's like if you watch their YouTube or their online content, you can see the negativity. It reminds me of kind of like how the Ruby community is with the Ruby show, like how negative that community's kind of gotten. It's to the point of almost toxicity, where they're seeing stuff and they're just negative on purpose because they're so sick of their issues or whatever. So that's the turn I don't like. Like the community is kind of like, this is cool, but we want these issues fixed rather than an expansion. But to me, I like the content. It looks cool to me. I might try it out. I always come back to Elder Scrolls Online like every 3 to 4 months. I'm sure I'll play it for a little while.
Did you hear? What did you think about the fact that like all the expansions except the new one are free now?
Well, should I save my money?
Yeah, that's a lot of guap that you dropped.
I bought High Tide last year during the summer, but I had most. I'm Elder Scrolls Online, like the monthly member too. So I had already had most of the expansions, DLC expansions, stuff like that. I'm one of those guys who plays it casually. I just like playing the story and playing through the side quests. Some of the in-game content I don't really care about as much, so it doesn't bother me that much. But it would have been nice to just like hold out a couple more months to just get everything, get the new class and all that. So.
There was no way for you to know, so it's just like at this point, I guess the goal is just try to get in as many people in the door, like anybody that's still kind of wondering, like, should I try this game out? Like, hey, it's all free now. You pay for the game, you get everything. Like you got to think of it that way, because they're just trying to keep the player base thriving. As opposed to like falling off slowly like most MMOs.
Well, it's a limited trial, so would you keep it or would it like fade away at some point?
You say what now?
I was saying that the DLC I think was a limited trial, so would you keep it or would it like fade away?
Now I thought I was under the impression that all of it was free.
Yeah, but I think it's a limited trial though. I think at the bottom of the screen it's like limited trial.
Now that's kind of ass to me. Like I'm not really big on the idea of like a limited trial like that.
Any company will give you that much. It's like, hey, 20 DLCs. Nah.
I mean, I guess it would depend because it might be like one of those. It's free as long as you paying for Xbox Live, or not Xbox Live, but Xbox Game Pass.
Because I mean, be one of the, they have their own monthly service too. I know, like with the monthly service, you get certain DLCs just for paying for the monthly service. You just get them.
Well, what I'm looking at says you buy it once and you play it anytime. So I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see. I could probably look into that on the like the Xbox website and get more specifics, but that's not really the point of today. I really just wanted to get Rakeem's thoughts because Rakeem's such a big Elder Scrolls fan. Lastly, we got One Punch Man and the Master of Combos, Mr. Devin Butts. Devin, what you been up to, man?
Well, what I do best, man. Do the combos, man. Just released another video for Jean Grey today. She's been in the game for a while as a UMVC3 mod, but I hadn't really touched her. But I decided to go to the lab with her, and she was quite the character. And it kind of makes me sad that we didn't ever get an actual Marvel vs. Capcom with a bunch of like X-Men characters, and probably never will again. So on the inside, maybe cry a little bit, but at the same time, these models are doing a fantastic job.
Man, are they ever? Jeez.
Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job. So
I was talking with Devin the other day about the mods scene. Like it's happening. It's gotten to the point now where I'm like, dudes, don't even waste your time on Marvel too much longer. It's time to make your own. If you're putting this much work into it, it's time to make your own game.
Yeah.
I mean, they might get hired to work on games because we are at that point.
Happen.
I would hope that would be true, but I've seen instances like I know we were talking about this on Input Output earlier about music artists back when Third Strike Online came out. There were some people in the community, like on YouTube, making soundtracks and remixes for Capcom games that were just fire. They're like, bro, there would be no way. Like, if somehow Capcom hurts you, there'd be no way they can't use you. And nope. So it just, I guess the card just have to fall, right? But
it is that, but it's also just that music is like they tend to know who they're gonna tap for music, and they kind of use just the same artist. A lot of companies just tend to use the same artists over and over again, just because they know them and can work with them, as opposed to like people who do active game development. If you're working on one project, there's a good chance you're not working on multiple unless you like really high up. Like if you're working, in the trenches, if you're down there in the trenches, that's just you working on that game. If they want to work on another game, they just gonna have to hire more people. And so there's always a need, like, hey, let's bring in these guys that can do this. And we saw this team working on this, and they seem like they be talented. It's like what's the guys that did the Crossbell duology?
Geofront.
Yeah. Like they're like the NIS. NIS looked at it. NIS was like, hey man, this, we just gonna take this as a base and start working with that. And so they hooked up with the Geofront guys and went from there. And like that's just because it's only so many people that you got, and so you need to recruit more from outside. With music, it always just seemed like they just turn to that same handful of people. That's why all your favorite soundtracks worked on by like a dozen people.
Well, I guess I was just referring to like the style, because Street Fighter 6 is being hip hop, and if we know anything about Third Strike, they had a rapper named Infinite who did a outstanding job on Third Strike, and you would have thought they would have got him for SF6, but they was like, nah, you thought good. We're gonna get a most generic song we can for the main song, Street Fighter. No shade.
No, that was all shade, but it's okay.
Numerous trees.
Yeah, you found the whole forest. I ain't gonna lie to you. You was like, hey, look, put it all in there. You ain't gonna be seeing nothing. Lastly, I am Sage Ashford, the man who won't shut up. Lately, I've just been lost in the world of No Man's Sky. Like, I don't know. Like, I started seeing certain streamers that I follow, and they started doing Icarus and other like sandbox-based shit, and I was like, if I'm gonna do a sandbox, I gotta go back to the old faithful. And so now I'm going to random planets and just trying to build bases, just being a villain and colonizing places that I ain't got no business being on, the alien race find me and be like, get your ass off this planet, human, that type shit. But they can't stop me because I got a gun that turned everything into like matter and shit like that. So I do whatever I want. I get to be a villain because it's just a video game. Anyway, outside of that, if you didn't know, No Level Cap goes live every Monday morning. We're on YouTube for the video fans. If you prefer the audio version, we're live on Spotify as well. We're also on TikTok, and I want y'all to give us a follow quick before the government bans the clock out for good. So I want to get into this. Xbox finally, after months and months of everybody being like, y'all ain't got no games, y'all lying to the people. You just want us to buy the app for no reason and play Xbox Game Pass and just play a bunch of indie games and shit. After months and months of that, they finally came out with something to let people know that they do still, in fact, develop video games, and they're working on, they came up with the developer direct, the developer _ direct, that showed off a bunch of games they're working on that are coming out in the near future. And I know that we're not all Xbox fans. In fact, most of us kind of aren't Xbox fans at all. However, we are big game fans in general and follow like the gaming consensus. And so I did have some stuff I wanted to talk to y'all about, especially since we came out, they came out the gate with a little surprise game. Tango Gameworks popped up there with the Hi-Fi Rush. And I wanted to know what y'all thought of it, because like, man, I saw Hi-Fi Rush and I was like, because I tuned in like 2 minutes late, and I got there and they were talking about something and I was like, I don't care about this at all. And then I had heard rumors that said like, oh yeah, it's just gonna be these 4 games, the 4 games they had hyped up, which was like Minecraft Legends, Elder Scrolls Online, Forza, and then Redfall. And I was like, do I care about this? How hyped am I? I'm gonna watch anyway. And then they showed up, Tango Gameworks, the people that's supposed to be known for Evil Within, showed up with Hi-Fi Rush, which is extremely my shit. I was like, holy fuck, like this game looks fucking incredible. And that picked up my mood and made the rest of the whole conference look better to me, to be honest. So I just wanted to know what y'all thought of it. Terrence, what'd you think of it, man?
So this is the type of game that I need Xbox to give us more of. Like this is, and the fact that they bought Tango Gameworks, well, they bought Bethesda, who had Tango Gameworks. It looks like we're starting to see the benefit of that, like having a Japanese developer, and so you're getting like that those kooky Japaneseisms when it comes to like game development. And this game, it feels like a Hi-Fi Rush. It feels like something from like the 2000s in a sense. I saw some people commenting that in terms of it feels like a video game, like something Sega would have made back during like the Dreamcast era, or something Capcom.
It don't feel like a movie trying to be a video game. It just feels like a video game.
Yeah, back when games weren't as serious, like not all of them had like the cinematic tone. That's what this feels like. It feels like, something that Capcom would have done during like the PS2 era with like Beautiful Joe or Okami, something along those lines. It just feels
Clover.
Yeah, like pretty much, Clover Studios. Feels like something that they would have done. It's refreshing. It really is. And it's cool to see Xbox get something like that. And I will point out that I always find it ironic whenever Xbox does get something that you always have like the Sony fanboys that come in. It's like, why can't this come to PlayStation? It's like, come on. We always talk about like, yeah, Sony, we got the games. We got God of War. We got Ratchet and Clank. We got this. We got that. And always, crapping on Xbox. So when Xbox gets something, let them have that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I was like, when I saw that the game was coming to Xbox, I was like, good for them. I'm glad that they have an exclusive that's worth playing. And the fact that this was a shadow drop and it's on Game Pass, it's one hell of a surprise. The fact that they kept it on the wraps. And I saw a recent interview where they said that this game actually was pitched in 2017. So it's been in the works for a while. Yeah, I really like the game. I like the art style. The gameplay that I've seen, it's incredible. It's just a really it's a game that looks like fun. And at the end of the day, that's what video games should be. They should be fun. So yeah, if I had an Xbox, this is definitely something that I would pick up. So what I've seen of it, I like, and yeah, I would like to see more of it. I like to see more games like this from Xbox. They could really use more of just that kookiness, or just like more weirdness, instead of just a bunch of first-person shooters, Forza, and what Xbox is known for. Just shake things up a little bit. That's all I'm asking.
One thing I'll say is what selfish, spoiled fucking baby was like, why can't PlayStation get this? Like, no. Like,
you'd be surprised.
PlayStation got all the games, and y'all just want to sit there and be like, see, Xbox ain't got no games. They even brought the games they got over to us. Like, you don't need that. Like, if you need it that bad, I tell you what, you get you a PC and you get your Xbox Game Pass. You pay $15 a month. You get this game and every other game they got. So, like, if you don't want it that bad, then you must not want it. Like, you don't need them to be like, I don't want to see you begging for games that they should be releasing on their platform and trying to like get people to actually give a fuck about their platform instead of it just being a fucking running joke where everybody's just like, man, Xbox ain't got no fucking games. Like, at this point, Sony has a personality. You know, it's getting kind of long in the tooth. All these narrative, third person, heavily cinematic games getting a little long in the tooth. But you know what? They sell well. They review well. That's their personality. That's their identity. They stick to it. When you get Nintendo, I mean, it's been their identity since day one. They've got the family-friendly, gameplay first, heavily stylized graphics. Like and they always hella polished. You know what you're getting when you get you a Nintendo game. And that's why they have such a huge, fanatical type fan base. They earned it. They worked hard for it. Xbox is trying to do the same thing. And so to me, when I hear stuff like, oh, we coming out with this and it's like a unique game and it's going to bring people in, I'm like, good for y'all.
Yeah.
Good for y'all. And then also I'm proud of them for the shadow drop thing too. Because I do want to ask y'all how y'all feel about that. Terrence chimed in. I'm going to ask the rest of y'all. I saw someone say, I don't know that this should have been a shadow drop. It's like it's too good to be a shadow. I'm like, no, shadow drops should be good. Like they shouldn't just be some fucking, oh yeah, you know, it was all right. If it hadn't been a shadow drop, I would have been disappointed. Like, sometimes you need to, sometimes you look under the Christmas tree and you like, oh shit, I got this. That's what this was. So
I also don't think this is the type of game that needed any kind of like marketing build up. So it's like, it's fine that they just shadow dropped it. Yeah.
It didn't need no grand fanfare.
Yeah, exactly.
The fanfare it got the fact that it was like a shadow drop that looked great, and then you can play it right now. And everybody's like, oh shit, you can play it right, and then they play it and they think it's amazing. That helps.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it had no fanfare, but it is as good as it is, makes people immediately sit up and go, wait a minute, like this is going to stick with people. Like, because I've seen very little, if any, bad to say about it. This is going to stick with people 6 months, 8 months down the line. Is it going to come up in game of the year conversations? Pump your brakes. But like, is it going to be like a game that people go, yeah, this was one of the better games of 2023? Very possible. Very possible. So I think that was dope of them. Devin, what did you think of Hi-Fi Rush? And do you think shadow drops like this should be more common?
So I got a lot on this one. I actually played about a good 30, 40 minutes of this game. Me and Rakeem were watching the direct, and when they showed it, we was like, I'm looking at the screen like, what is this? Like, this, like, it was totally out of left field. Because I wouldn't say that this is anything that's outside of Xbox's like their toolkit. And the reason why I say this is because original Xbox had a lot of interesting games. It had some quirky games. It even had Jet Set Radio Future. So it had games.
Yeah, back when Xbox was kind of like the Dreamcast 2.0. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It was.
Exactly.
Time Sweeper and all that.
Exactly. When it shifted to the 360, that's when things started becoming Madden, 2K, Call of Duty, Forza.
Halo Gears, Forza.
Yeah. You know, that's, but it kind of echoed back to the original Xbox. And then when they showed at the end, available now, game, King looked at me. I looked at King. I said, let me take my mouse. Let me go to this Game Pass. Hit install, download. All right. This game is fire. I must say, like what I play, like Sage just made a good point that might not be game of the year, but let's be honest, every game ain't got to be game of the year for it to be a game you can enjoy. Like the games that are, hats off to them, and there's usually only select few games that have the upper echelon of like everything is just hitting on all cylinders to be game of the year. I will say though, like the art style I'm looking, I'm like, this almost looked like an animated movie. Like, it's so, I'm like, this is so beautiful. And I also want to mention Tango Gameworks, like, they made two previous games that I like. Well, one, they had two iterations, Evil Within 1, Evil Within 2. And then I was like, work on something like this. They actually they did Tokyo Ghostwire.
Yeah.
So now that I'm looking at it being like really quirky and like that was a really like weird, just a lot of stuff going on. So this game kind of has some of that, but in a different way. This game also speaks to me because I love the style of it. Reminded me of Jet Set Radio. It's like Devil May Cry, Guitar Hero. It has Ratchet and Clank vibes. You run around collecting gears and platforming. The stylized is almost like a new age Sly Cooper. So it's just all in my alley. This is, to me, like Terrence just said, this is a video game. This is what we need more of. This games that come out and they're just like, they just embody being fun. It's not like, I was on a mission and I had grenades in my hands and I had to throw them in a building and blow up the building. Man, I've been on the hard. You ain't gotta have a game like that all the time, man. Just something that's just in your face, fun, colorful, just a welcoming video game.
And that is for this.
And that is what Hi-Fi Rush is.
You want that game back
though. I've only played about 30-40 minutes of it, just enough to kind of give me a feel of it. Like it's also another one of those games where it's like they're starting to trend into like the what is it? Kind of like meshing music and the gameplay, just like Hellsinger. Mm-hmm. It's literally an action hack and slash Hellsinger. He literally when he's idle, he taps his foot to the beat of the music. The stage is literally moving, like stuff like that. That's creative. That is what makes games unique. Like when you're fighting, it's to the beat. When you're running, he runs to the beat. I'm like, dude, this is what games are about. This is creative, and I love music. Like especially video game music, probably my favorite genre of music. Like I love video game music. And it's just so dope to see them mix this into it. And it's just like it just had, like I said, Ratchet and Clank, Devil May Cry, Guitar Hero, and Jet Set Radio just ran in each other and was like, bam, and it's like, yeah, Hi-Fi Rush, let's do it. So this is like a shadow drop. I think I can remember 2 shadow drops that I can think of. This one and Apex Legends. And Apex Legends was also a hit. When it came out, the blue. And look at it now, it's still going strong. This is a much different game, but man, I my hat is off to them for doing this. Because like I said, this is what I want to see on Xbox. And I told Rakeem also, if y'all remember a game that came out on 360's launch, Sunset Overdrive, it had dog like this is very big.
Yeah, a lot of people were making those comparisons. Yeah.
And I was like, when I saw it, I'm like, hold on, because it was also made by Insomniac, which who did Ratchet and Clank. And it also kind of gave me a slight Jet Set Radio vibe. Hey man, my head is out to him, man, because this is something I'm like, let's do more of this. Because I'm gonna bring up a game that made me sad and a lot of other people sad that Xbox was supposed to do. Looks so dope, and it's like when Xbox drop a few games, it's like they just be so unique and out of left field. Scalebound, Scalebound was shown, and people like, man, this kind of look fire. And never got it. We might get it. Maybe they bring it up from the ash. Maybe it rise from your grave, Scalebound. I don't know. But I will say, man, I can say that this doggone Hi-Fi Rush, man, is pretty solid. Like I said, I'm not a big Xbox fan. And that's mainly because, not that I'm saying Xbox trash, just never had the games that I like. They never had like Final Fantasies like that back in the day or stuff like that. A whole lot of RPGs. So I just flocked to them.
They had Blue Dragon and
Lost Odyssey.
Lost Odyssey, yeah.
Lost Odyssey was fire.
Now those games, well, Blue Dragon was okay. I never played Lost Odyssey. I heard it was fire.
Lost Odyssey game.
So that it was just a result of just having games like the majority, like 80 to 90% of the games I'm gonna play are on PlayStation. So that's why I got to play. So it just makes more sense. I don't like Xbox. They just don't have the games I want to play. If you keep making games like that, I might get Xbox, but nowadays I got a PC, so I don't even need Xbox.
So, PC master race.
Ultimately, they just want you into their ecosystem. So, like, if you get Xbox Game Pass to them, that's a dub. PC. Like they want it.
I mean, Microsoft. Like, okay. Microsoft's are pretty much PC. They're PC.
They knew what they were doing when they said, "Hey, every game that comes out on Xbox will also come out on PC same day, same like all the time, like." Launch day, like you just gonna get both, and then if you get Xbox Game Pass, you basically just get every Xbox game the day that it launches. Like the second that happened, they knew, and the goal was like, can we get as many people in? Because like, what is that? if you pay $15 a month, which I don't know that everybody's paying $15 a month, but if you are, that's what, $180 a month. I mean, a year. That's 3 full price games a year that you buying from them, effectively.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So like to them, that's like anytime somebody goes, I saw that I had to get Xbox Game Pass, and this, it may not get 6 million subscribers, but it might get 100,000, and the next game might get 200,000, and the next game might get 1 million, and the next game, so on and so forth. And the goal is to just keep and to make it such an invaluable service that you just can't let it go, because you don't know, like at any moment they might, because like that's the thing, like that's why this shadow drop is so important, and why it's something that they can do. Because like Terrence, when did you say they started working on this game?
The interview that I saw said that not Shinji Mikami, but someone else, the person who I guess had the idea for the game, he pitched it in 2017. Because the whole interview that I saw, and this came, I think, like maybe a day or two ago, he talked about how people were saying like, oh, this game wouldn't have happened because of Game Pass. Like, no, this was in talks before they were even acquired. Before Bethesda was acquired by Microsoft, and Tango Gameworks and all that was into it. Like this has been happening for a while, so it's just been a lot going on behind the scenes.
It makes sense because this game, after actually playing it, getting hands on, it's super polished. It doesn't feel like something that was just like, let me get some band-aids, tape, we gonna put some code together, and we got a video game. This is polished. I haven't had any like glitches or any weird stuff happen yet, so it feels like something like that they have been working on.
Is that a help? Is that the help?
I don't know, man.
Band-aids and tape. Take your code, you throw it in there. It's just like show an image of some band-aids and tape. All of a sudden, a game popped out. It ain't a good game, but it's a game.
Hey,
band-aids, tape, and dirt.
The MacGyver game.
Yeah, the MacGyver game. But I don't think Xbox Game Pass is why the game got made. But I do think, and then like for you to say 2017, that's such a long period of time to work on a game. Like that's a full-length game production. And what that tells me is that they shadow dropped it because Xbox has so many people subscribed that it's almost subsidized. It's like, okay, well, it doesn't matter. Like we're going to get people to buy it. And then like they might have had like internal sales figures that they were like, is it better to like release this at full price and with no or is it just better to just shadow drop it and be like, surprise, it's out? And like that type of stuff, that's the exact type of thing that makes it irreplaceable. Like I can't let go of Xbox game. What if I get another Hi-Fi Rush? Like why would I let go of the service? Because at any moment you could just get this surprise. So, Will, what did you think of Hi-Fi Rush, man?
Man, if I had to be real with you, as y'all in here know, I'm avidly on Twitter, whether I'm just on there tweeting about stuff, reading stuff, or seeing things. This past couple of days, I have seen nothing but Hi-Fi Rush down my timeline. I have seen nothing but it. And I'm just like, okay, so maybe I need to go ahead and open this Steam app real quick and go ahead and wishlist that, because I'm buying that, because I'm just like, y'all really selling me on this game right now. And it does look amazing. I've seen some of the gameplay for it. I've seen a little bit. I ain't watched too much, but I've seen some, and it looks like it's just fun. And I'm just like, y'all put something out there, got the internet just kind of buzzing right now. Y'all just said, there, take it, have it, it's yours, play it. Game Pass people, go download it. Y'all just say, take it. It's fun. You'll love it. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna have to get this soon. And the number one thing I've seen the most about this game was that there's a good old fashioned reference to Xenogears in here. So I'm just sitting here like, they really just do something out there that no one would have thought about. That's crazy.
I'm gonna tell you something that I know. Well, maybe Devin's already run into it, but have you seen like the JoJo references there in the game?
I have not seen a single one.
There's a boss that's an entire JoJo reference, and like with the what's the what's it, katakana, where it's like what's the
I know what you're talking about, the menacing thing,
like the menacing symbol,
katakana,
yeah, where it like the character has that by him and everything, so yeah.
Oh, okay. I had to look up the reference. It's a reference to like Xenogears Disc 2, where like a lot of the content is just like in text because they just had to rush the game out just to get it out.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, like if I see you doing stuff like that, like referencing older games such as that, and referencing like other type of media, and your game is polished, and you got the internet going crazy about it, by all means, I will get the game. I will support you. Continue to do this. I think Xbox needs it, no doubt about it, and I think Xbox should get more of that. I think they should get more.
Rakeem, man, what do you think? What did you think of Hi-Fi Russian? Do you think shadow drops should be like more common, or is it just like most of the time you're not gonna be able to do something like this?
Yo, man, when I saw Hi-Fi Rush for the first time, Devin kind of attested to it earlier. I immediately was like, this is immediately got the same feeling I got when I watched Sunset Overdrive for the first time. Whoa, this your face, colorful. It clearly had a strong like identity when it came to its art direction. And I'm really kind of cool on this wave of like how rhythm games are integrating their way into other ideas and other types of games. Next thing we know, we're gonna see Theat rhythm with combos or something. Yeah, it's really interesting how just like slight changes to the formula with new elements can spice things up. And this is something that Xbox sorely needed in my eyes. I think they needed to do something like this because we saw the conference was just going to be Elder Scrolls Online, even though I like Elder Scrolls Online, and Forza and Redfall and
Minecraft Legends.
Minecraft Legends. I was like, wow, this is dry. And I know people anticipated Redfall, but like we don't have to get into this now. I don't think looking at Redfall, even now, I'm kind of not souring on it, but it kind of makes me feel like So my impression of Hi-Fi Rush is very high. I would not mind playing this one day myself. I'm happy to see more games like this coming from these studios. It's kind of cool to see Tango Gameworks go a different direction for once from their horror kind of. I don't know. Ghostwire Tokyo was already a departure, but this is complete other stratosphere of departure. This is like, look, let's do something completely different. And I'm with it. I think it's dope. I'm glad the internet is buzzing about it. I think it's one of those things that it's nice to get something that's surprise every once in a while, because as gamers in the gaming industry, things can be very pessimistic, very negative. So good to see something positive. And as far as going to shadow drops, look, man, look what happened with this game in the shadow drop. People can't stop talking about it because it was such a nice change. I think with shadow drops, you have to be very strategic. It's very similar to how certain artists can drop their albums and they do amazing, and certain artists can't. You have to be very strategic about how you do it. You got to think about the rapport of the studio. You got to think about the type of game you're putting out and how the audience might gravitate to it. You put out some generic World War II shooter, it doesn't have the same response as freaking Hi-Fi Rush. It's not going to happen. So I think shadow drops are actually dope. I think they should continue being done. I just think they clearly have a strategy behind them for the ones that work. And if there probably will be some in the future that try this and it won't work, and they didn't get the strategy ahead of time. So yeah, that's what I think about it.
I think one thing that helps this is it's a very simple game, and I don't mean simple as an insult, but like, you pick up the controller, you smack shit to the rhythm of the beat. All right, got it. It's got some cool ass anime art style, and it's an anime game. Pick it up, have fun, and everybody immediately goes, okay. You know whether or not you're into it just from like the first 90 seconds of an explanation. If you tried to release some fucking loot shooter that has like all these mechanics and like all this, here's the battle pass and here's the monetization and all, you're going to lose people quick, and they're going to be like, all right, man, you might should have hyped this up and explained it over the course of several months, man.
I think it helps that the game is also only $30. Like, had it been more, then, maybe it'd be a bit more hesitancy to purchase it. But the fact that it's 30, that helps it a lot too.
30 is definitely a key price point. What were you gonna say, Devin?
No, I said except Apex, because they dropped that and that was.
Well, that was kind of simple though. It's like, here's a battle royale. It's like a brand new battle royale. It's colorful. They got superpowers. Let's go. And then there are monetization things that are kind of tricky, but ultimately, like, battle royale with superpowers. You got it? Yeah, I got it. If you tried to put out, some super complex, even like something that I would love, like a RPG, like a Western RPG, I don't know that I would shadow drop that. I think that needs a lot more build up to hype people up and get people excited going in than just like
Fantasia, ain't you?
You say talking about what?
You talking about Arm Fantasia, ain't you?
Is that out? Like,
no, it's not, but it's still being worked on, even though we know about it. But I'm just saying.
I was going to say, wait a minute, that it snuck out. I'd be like, wait a minute, like somebody should have said something.
Nobody told me I was Kickstarter back.
That's what I'm saying. Like, wait a minute. Okay, so the next thing I want to ask, because like the show as a whole, it did not have a lot. However, what I did like about it was that it's something to tell you about games. It's coming out real quick. And so like, I want to know, what did y'all think about the idea of developer directs? And do you think Xbox should do more developer directs going forward? And before I hand it off to y'all, I want to say, we got to give this up to Nintendo, because they really did pioneer the idea of bringing games directly to the viewer in an online format. Like, it's one of the few times they've prioritized the importance of technology, where they reveal the games directly to the fans. And now they've got an audience of people that the second you say, look, tomorrow we doing a Nintendo Direct, you getting 100,000, 200,000 people tuning in that day, and then like at live, and then probably more over the course of the next week. That's got to be like, okay, well, what's gonna be in it? What's in this? Like, they got to check it out. And this to me is different from the thing Xbox tried to do a couple of years ago. What was the Inside Xbox? Where it would always just be, it felt like filler. You know, like it would just be some shit that was the equivalent of like a press release or a blog post. And it was like, this is just a waste of time. This is like just showing off a list of games. And I think it's impressive that they're showing off games coming out, like with the exception of Forza, which I think they didn't put no date on that, which makes me wonder if that game's coming out even in the next 6 months, or more likely like in the fall, like a lot of Forza games do. But other than that, they were showing off games that's coming out over the next 3 to 4 months. Like, this game came out, like Hi-Fi Rush that we just talked about, that's out now. Minecraft Legends, that comes out in, I think, April. Elder Scrolls, I think that comes out in like early June, if I'm not mistaken, like the new expansion.
Usually
and then
in summer.
Yeah, that's usually what it is. So I think it is early June. And in fact, let me double check just to be sure. June 20th. So not early June, but it is in June. So, and then you have Redfall, which I think comes out May 2nd.
Yeah.
And so it's
right,
like, so it's, you got an April game, a May game, a June game. We just gonna tell you about them right now, get you hyped, get you in the door. I think that's the way to do it going forward. You could probably do 3 of these a year. One at the top of the year, one at E3 or E3 time, and then one roundabouts the fall, and then like, okay, we start the cycle over again. But what do y'all think? Terrence, what do you think about Xbox? Do you think they should do more of these going forward?
I really think they should. I mean, for the reasons that you gave, honestly, and just because Xbox doesn't really have the kind of show that, like, they don't have like a Nintendo Direct or a Sony State of Play, or at least it doesn't work the same way. Like when Xbox usually has some kind of show, there's not that level of hype to it as there is with a State of Play or a Nintendo Direct. Usually when Nintendo announces that a Direct is happening, like you said, everybody's going to show up because everybody wants to see what Nintendo's going to talk about, what they're going to release. Yeah, you just want to see what they're up to. With Sony, it's the same thing where you don't know what they might reveal. Although I will say with Sony, sometimes it could be hit and miss. Sometimes you get a show where bangers, and then you get a show where it's like, you all could have done better. I think that if Xbox is going to do more of these moving forward, they need to make them worth it. Like, you can't do these kind of shows and, like you said earlier, Sage, just put filler in there, stuff that nobody's going to care about, like shovelware or whatever. It needs to be kind of like, I'm not saying all of them have to be AAA games, but at least projects that people are going to have some interest in or show some interest in. I just don't think you can have these kind of shows and just do whatever. It is important to actually show up with something. So that's my main thing. I think that Xbox should do more of these, but they just need to make sure that they have some actual impact. Don't give us any fluff.
I agree with the majority of that. The only thing I'll say, State of Plays are hit and miss, but I think you can get away. Like, the Developer Direct without Hi-Fi Rush probably wasn't going to be received all that well. But I'll tell you what I would give it. State of Play will show you games that's like, you don't know when they're coming out. Like that Knights of the Old Republic game, that game got delayed. It's not canceled, it's delayed, but it'll be years before we get that game. And there are other games that they've shown us that, like, we don't know when those games are coming. you can get away with showing not necessarily filler, but you can get away with showing like smaller games so long as you just focus on games coming out over the next few months. You know, if you're willing to show us like, okay, this is the next 4 to 5 months of video games that we got coming. All right, cool. If they big games, great. If they small games, at least I know this is what, if you're an Xbox fan, this is the mindset you should have. At least I know this is what I have to look forward to over the next 4 months. And as long as I tune into the developer direct, I understand that that's what I'm getting.
Yeah, if anything, I think Xbox should at least do that this year, because I think this year is an important one for Xbox, because if they don't show up, then people are going to start asking some questions. So, yeah.
I've been giving Xbox a lot of leeway as far as like developers and like, oh, this game got delayed, this game got delayed. I've been giving them a lot of leeway. One, primarily because of, well, not less important, but like this is a newer thing. The pandemic kind of pushed back a lot of timetables on a lot of games. Like there are a lot of games that probably we should have had last year or even earlier, but like the pandemic pushed those games, kicked that can down the road. And so that's one reason I've been giving them pass. But the other reason is just because game development takes so fucking long now. And I don't blame the developers. They working hard. They doing not backbreaking work, but like they working long, hard hours, you know, not getting home to see their families, working 12-hour days, 5-6 days a week, sometimes 7 in the closing weeks before the game releases. They busting their ass. But it's just with how complex games are now, everything got to be, oh, we need an 8K. You see the sweat dripping off LeBron's forehead and all that type of shit. Just because you got to develop a game look like that, it takes much longer to make them. And so, like, if you tell me, well, we bought this studio and they just started a game right now, I'm like, okay, cool. I probably won't see that till PlayStation 6, you know? And, you know, we 2 years into PlayStation 3, PlayStation 5, but like, it takes that long to make a game now. It takes 5, 6, 7 years sometimes to make a game. And so a lot of the games that they hyped up, they like studios they bought in 2017, it's like, well, if you give them 6 years, that's all right about now. You should start expecting, you know, if it takes 6 years to work on a new IP and you bought them and they were starting to work on a new IP in 2017, 2018, you should start seeing those games like right now. So I'm going to give them a little tiny pass in that respect. Rakeem,
yes.
Do you think Xbox should do more of these going forward, or do you think they should just stay focused on like E3?
It depends on if they know their big games are come out in a timely manner, because you can keep doing these, but if you get to a point where it's like, we don't have anything, we'll put some bullshit up there, then no. I like how you went back and you talked about Nintendo as the standard, because they are. But Nintendo Direct, just the way it's formatted and how no nonsense it is, it's just like, here's the game, here's how it works, very calm voice, no hype train. You know, there's like, hey, this is what's going on. This is how the game works. Here's some mechanics. Here's a few surprises with it. Very calm, very relaxing, very like, kind of let your guard down a little bit. Like, hey, man, we're just going to talk about some games. Don't worry about it. Here you go. They're not going to do that because Xbox is a different type of brand. But the idea behind it, giving you the information you need about the games to formulate whether you want to buy them and not just overhype them to death and then under-deliver, I think that's a great message. And I've noticed that a lot of developers are actually doing that with their own private directs, like Yacht Club Games, who make Shovel Knight. They have a yearly direct now that is exactly like the Nintendo Direct, because they publish games as well, and they have multiple IPs of different games they have. They have a yearly direct now. They do the exact same thing. Like, it's just like Nintendo Direct. The guy who did Rivals of Aether, they have an Aether Direct where they go with their fan base, and they're actually very creative about how they do the direct. They have interactions with Twitch. They have skits. They have video stuff going on. They give away prizes or they give away content for the game and have a whole bunch of stuff. I remember last time I went, they had an interactive game during the direct. You could play the game on Twitch and like interact with what was going on, and like it was really cool. So going back to the original question, I think the direct as a method to give the gamers what they want directly is a good strategy for Xbox going forward because of all the IPs they've acquired, and now we're starting to get to the phase where they're starting to get their identity of what these games are going to look like. Mm-hmm. I just want them to use it when it's needed. If you don't have anything, don't lie to me. I can tell when you're lying to me. You can put some third-party bullshit there. There's some indie games and So they're gonna show the same trailers like they did. It's gonna be like what was it? Kena Bridge of Spears. We just keep seeing it over and over and over and over.
like Deathloop. Remember how many times we saw Deathloop? Like,
oh my
after
God.
a while, you was like,
escape.
It's like, has this game come out yet?
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie.
You said what?
See a game with Deathloop?
I thought Deathloop was good, but it got great reviews.
It reviewed incredibly well. Yeah.
No.
After a while,
you didn't get what Devin was saying. It's a good title because you kept showing it over and over and over and over again.
Okay. That's
literally was playing into the loop. So I guess that's good. That was good marketing. But I just want them to definitely keep doing directs. Just use them when they're needed. That's all I want to say. Make sure they're used appropriate.
I agree. Only thing I'll say is if you can have smaller games, just don't waste time. Like if all you got for the next 4 months is some smaller games, then I think this developer direct was like 45 minutes. Don't do that. If you got small games, give us 15 minutes, 18 like
maybe.
This is what we got. And then also the thing that they did that helped with this one, and probably you should do this going forward. Just tell people what's in it. Unless it's like some big surprises, that big summer direct or whatever the fuck you want to call it, your Xbox game show in the summer, you can do whatever you want. That's your big this is the next 12 to 18 months. Okay, cool. You can put some surprises in that. You don't have to tell us everything. For one at the beginning of the year and one towards say September or October.
Yeah.
Those, just tell us what's in it. Don't try to lie to us like Keem said, try to slip in some third-party shit that that you just trying to use as filler for your schedule. Everybody's gonna know and everybody's gonna point it out. So just be honest.
What the fuck is that game?
Yeah, exactly. What the fuck is that game? Devin, what do you think, man? Should Xbox do more developer directs going forward?
I think they do, specifically because me personally, I like I said, Xbox, they haven't had most of the games that I like to play over the years. So I would like to see a little sample of what they got working to let me know if I want to be like, hey, am I going to even consider putting time into some Xbox or Microsoft games this year? Or if not, be like, and I know you all were speaking about the directs and Nintendo doing this. I kind of think that the directs are kind of like a menu. They give you a menu. Like King was saying, they just talk to you real calm. Hey, Nintendo, we got some games. You want to play some games? We got some games, good games. Here's the menu. We got some appetizers, some pistachios if you like those. We got main course is Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, if you would like that. We got some nice refreshments. It give you a menu, it show you, what's to come.
I'm not gonna lie, after seeing the movie The Menu, you saying this in this way kind of has it going through my head in a different way. Anyone who's seen The Menu will understand what I'm talking about, but continue.
So I think it's dope. And I mean, again, with this, I think we also mentioned something about this on the previous question about how Game Pass kind of play hand in hand with them, saying that you can play it now, it's available now. Of course, you could buy it, but this is also you can play it for free as well. So that was even better. I can just play this for free. So that way you can kind of, even though you still technically pay for the subscription, it's even still cheaper than the game itself. So that way it's very, very low commitment. It's very non-committal rather. So it's I can just test it out, see how it is. And dang, this actually kind of fire. I might just go ahead and play the whole game. I want some more of this. So I definitely think, me personally, that Xbox doing stuff like this, directs, I think is actually really good. And of course, like we said, the rest of the show was just very stuff we, Forza, how many times we gonna see. Now I love racing games. So Forza is something I've never been just a Forza guy, but I get the appeal. I like racing games. One thing about me, the racing games, they're always some of the best looking games because it's just, you really just have to focus on the environment and the cars. And we're to the point now where they look doggone realistic at this point. They just racing games look so beautiful. Racing games are probably the quintessential game to use to just test out. They're great tech demo testers. When PS4 first came out, they dropped that game Drive Club, and I was like, this game looks, I could go outside and it won't look that real. So
more real than real life.
Yeah, so I'm just racing games always have a place in my heart, but I mean, to drop something like Hi-Fi Rush within a direct like that, just so haphazardly, was just like, this is dope. So if they could do more stuff like that, just drop a bomb on us, I would be for it. I'd be for it, and then just say, hey, just, especially saying it's available now or whatever. Even if it wasn't available, I think still just showing something like Hi-Fi Rush on the direct would still been super powerful because it's so different from what Xbox has done, like majority of their stuff in the past, like with their games. So, like I said, I think it's a good idea for them to continue stuff like this. Now, I will say what Keem said is true. Is like, don't just be like, hey man, we working on something, man. We got something for you, man. Where is it? Hey man, look, just know we got something for you, man.
Oh, you mean Metroid Prime 4?
Hold. Let them cook.
So,
let us cook. That's what Xbox say. Hey, let us cook now.
Let him cook.
Now I want to say they do like one or two more directs, and we see Forza Redfall and Minecraft Legends on there again. I'll be like, all right, now hold up.
Well, I mean, those games are all supposed to come out within the next 3 to 4 months. True. And so, like, they said the next direct they plan on doing is in June. So as long as nothing gets delayed, we shouldn't be having no problems with that.
Yeah. So, but I think it's dope. I mean, I guess they just kind of learning from like, hey man, let's just take an idea. Nintendo's doing it well. It seems to be being a success for them. Let's just kind of try some of that to see if it works for us. So I think Microsoft or Xbox doing that was a good thing.
I will say, like, as far as the Xbox Game Pass thing, man, like you ain't never lied, because like I was watching one of the streamers I follow on Twitch, and somebody asked him like, hey man, you gonna play Hi-Fi Rush? And he was like, yeah, I might get it a little later. And it was like, it's on Xbox Game Pass. And he was like, it's on Game Pass? And he went from kind of interested to like booting up Hi-Fi Rush like instantly, because he's like, I don't have to pay for it. I already pay for Game Pass. So I'm gonna just go ahead and play it now. So like that's the power that Xbox, that's the power that only Xbox has right now. Nintendo don't have that. Sony kind of has it.
Sorta.
Yeah.
Sorta.
If they just say it's free, but
it's different because like Xbox is the only studio, the only first party company that's just like, hey man, whatever game we put out and you got Game Pass, you play it right now. Like, I'm not subscribed to Xbox Game Pass at the moment. I'm legit just waiting for Starfield. I'm like, all right, when Starfield come out, I'm gonna go ahead and get the Xbox subscription, just because like I probably won't feel like paying the full 60 for it, or it's probably be 70. I probably won't feel like paying that full 70 plus tax for it, but I do want to play it and check it out. And then while I got Game Pass, I'll check out all the other stuff. And you'd hope by the end of the year, which is most likely when that game's gonna come out, let's be honest, because like it wasn't here and they talking about, oh, we're gonna save it for a later date to give it the full spotlight it deserves, which this is a tangent, and I'm gonna get back to the last question really quickly, but I hate that shit. I hate it. Like all that shit that they be doing with certain projects that's just like considered to be the cream of the crop. Even if I like the game, like it's just I don't want to say it's just a game, but it is just a game, right? Like when you start putting so much on it, like Rockstar, where they like, oh, Rockstar don't show up at E3, they too big for you. Fuck that. You a game just like everybody else. You come to E3 like the rest of us. Like I don't want to hear that shit. And like Starfield, this thing where they like, oh, we're gonna give it the time that it deserved. It already got the time it deserved last year. Y'all gave it the last 15 minutes of the Xbox show. So like, just put the game, like if that game really is coming out in the first half of 2023, which at this point I doubt. I think it's more likely September, maybe November. Maybe they try to just go back to that November 11th, 2020, which they should, if that's the case, they should be saying that as soon as possible. Don't try to put that shit off. But like, if you really are coming out in the first half of 20, there was no reason not to be here. That would have made this really a show to like, Hi-Fi Rush would have been cool, but just like knowing that Starfield was going to be here would have gotten way more attention, way more hype. People would have been like, oh, I got to check this out. I can't stand when, it's a game, like you've got these games that not only are AAA, but they have so much hype built up behind them that they think they can just like circumvent the rules that everybody else got to abide by. Like, fuck that. Show up to the show like everybody else. It's like a super popular person, like a super popular dude or a super popular chick showing up to the party like 45 minutes late. Oh, I'm famous, so I'm popular. I can do that. No, the fuck you can't. Get out. I'm tired of this shit. I'm sick of it. Like,
that's a good point, Say. I ain't gonna lie. Now
rich.
you bring it up, I'm thinking like, why was Starfield not there? This is like right now the flagship title from Bethesda and Xbox merging. So
they said, like, they legit said before the direct, they said Starfield will not be here. It's getting its own separate show so it can get the spotlight that it deserves. And I'm like, it's already going to sell. What are you talking about?
Do you think maybe in their head they're thinking that they didn't want Starfield to overshadow everything else that was at the show in a sense?
No, if so, like that's such a bad way of thinking about it, because like every company has that flag, that tent pole. Every company has tent poles, and every year, ideally, you have a tent pole around which the rest of your schedule is built. But it's very rare that you have a tent pole to the popularity or the hype level that Starfield has. Like that shit don't come around very often. Zelda gets it. I would say God of War had it last year. I don't necessarily think Spider-Man 2 has it this year. Not yet. Like they might try to do that, but like it would feel very off to me. It just feels like just another big AAA release. It doesn't feel like the level of a Starfield is the biggest game of the year. Like I don't know about y'all. Maybe this is just something that's in my head, but I feel like from year to year you can feel there's a feeling that you get for like the biggest games of the year. That game that's just like bigger than everything else, and it's clearly gonna run away with all the awards so long as it's any good and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like it feels like you can spot that shit from a mile off. Last year was Elden Ring and God of War. Everybody knew it. This year it's gonna be Zelda and Starfield by like a wide margin. I think Starfield gets destroyed by Zelda, even though I'm more excited for Starfield, but just Zelda being what it is. But like every company has those tent poles, but that don't mean that you should just silo off the tent pole from the rest of the stuff. It's flawed logic, because it's like, why wouldn't I come and see the whole show? Like I'm not gonna come in 30 minutes late because I'm like, well, I'm only here to see Starfield anyway. Like, what can you do about that?
On top of that, I want to say they probably would say Starfield last, so you would have to see the whole show anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
And
like,
then, also, I feel like especially in particularly Hi-Fi Rush's case, if they had a show Starfield, I do believe Hi-Fi Rush would have still been just as popping as it would, even if Starfield was there, because it was so different. Everything else, like although those games are all different, they just have a feel of like, okay, this is just games we kind of expected, we've seen. But that game is like, yeah, okay, Starfield was there, but did you see the Hi-Fi Rush though? That's just what I feel,
Well, some people, I mean, like, there's a certain crowd of people who prefer video games, and like stuff like Starfield, they just gonna bounce off of it pretty much instantly because they like, look, that ain't what I used to play growing up. I want something like, and they see Hi-Fi Rush, I want that. So like some people are gonna bounce off of it instantly, but like, I don't know, like Hi-Fi Rush was gonna get attention anyway because Starfield was gonna come out in June at the earliest. It ain't coming out in May. Like, we know now, it ain't coming out in April. It ain't coming out in May. And to be honest with you, I think that because when they delayed it last year, it was delayed in the first half 2023. That's clearly got to be a lie now, because they already told you what was coming out in April and in May and in June. They told you. So like, it's got to be July, unless they just sneak in and be like, no, surprise, it's coming out at the end of June. Like, unless they do that, it's already been delayed. But like, I just don't see the fact that it is delayed, the fact that it's coming out so late. That's not going to compete with Hi-Fi Rush, because Hi-Fi Rush, you are going to be told like, yeah, you play this right now. Like you get at this moment. So the last question, since Starfield is not announced right now, and for right now we have no idea when that game's coming out. It could come out in November. The game that they made the star of the show, so to speak, was Redfall. And so now I gotta ask y'all, is Redfall going to be the hit that Xbox needs?
I know you mean Redfall, so just so that it's people know.
It's crazy too, because I got a docket, and I was like going off of it on my head, and like I'm looking right at the docket, and it's just like, nah, Sage, Redfall, like no, Redfall. Thank you.
Man, Chris and Claire coming to Xbox.
Redfall. Unless you know everything you know, audience, about how we feel about that game.
I don't care about Redfall, bro. I'm asking y'all what y'all think, but like, if I'm being honest, I don't mind the zombies. It's vampires.
Vampires.
I don't care about. It really is the same thing. I don't care about no vampire. Like the vampire stuff is cool But I ain't gonna lie to y'all. The second I see first person, I tune out. Like mentally, I be gone. The one time I gave a first person game a shot was Vanilla Destiny, and y'all know how that went. So
Yeah.
I burned once. What did they say? Twice shot. That's it. I seen that shit. I played Vanilla Destiny, put that shit down after 12 hours. Was like, yep. I knew first person games was trash. I'm never coming back again. So I mean, like I do have thoughts, but like I want to ask y'all first: is Redfall going to be the big hit that Xbox needs? Rakeem.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. When I finally got to see, I guess, consistent gameplay of it, the first thing that hit me was like, man, it just reminds me so much of like Back 4 Blood, Left 4 Dead. I played Back 4 Blood recently, and I think a part of the reason I was kind of like iffy about it, I played Back 4 Blood recently, looking to it as like the big multiplayer game me and my friends would play, and I just felt so bored every time I picked it up. And my friends were playing, and it was like, Rakeem, you want to play with this? There'll be days like, yeah, sure. And some days like,
no,
play something else. When I see Redfall, I feel like it's the stereotypical multiplayer game that single player gamers talk about. Was like, I have no interest in this. This is appealing to me. I think the stuff with the powers is cool. I think the aesthetic is cool, the vampires or whatever. But just personally, I'm kind of burned out with that specific style of multiplayer, Left 4 Dead style game. I think it has its place, spaced out, but I feel like it's starting to become, because I play so many of them, starting to become a little worried by them. I think a part of that, when I play Vermintide, I play a lot of that. I play Back 4 Blood, I play a lot of that. I played
Did you play Killing Floor?
Zombie Army games like that. What'd you say, Devin?
So did you play Killing Floor?
I played Killing Floor. I did play Killing Floor. I played Killing Floor 2. I played Zombie Army 4. And I think me personally, I'm kind of burned by it. But still could be a good game for Xbox, because I mean this could be like an interesting time for Xbox, because I feel like these were the type of games, Redfall type of game, that Xbox was known for as their identity from the 360 era. Multiplayer versus or cooperative games, like Gears with cooperative, Halo cooperative, and the old school Left 4 Dead games I grew up playing as well, that older audience might cling to and like. But now newer audience is looking for new experiences. That could be the issue they might fall into. Unless this game mechanically and just stylistically is just really, really good, I think it can still knock off the park if it has a good game feel. Like you mentioned Destiny earlier, is that me and you had a very similar experience with Destiny, where we felt like the single player content and the connection to like the characters, the world, and the story, there was a disconnect there between the content of like this in-game grind progression and the lack of love and interest in the world. But there are specific sets of gamers who were even in our friend group who didn't give a fuck about none of that, and they love the game to this day.
Right now, they all swear by the game.
To this day, they'll fight us to the death over this game. So there's definitely a fan base who loves that stuff, and they don't give a freak about any other things I was talking about, and they are not burned out by it. So I think they can still find success with Redfall. I think it's interesting enough with like the newer mechanics it's trying to do. I personally am just burned out by this style of multiplayer game. I'm looking for different experience.
Will, what do you think, man? Do you think Redfall is the hit that Xbox needs?
Honestly, I feel like Keem kind of hit the nail on the head about it, and I feel the same way he does, because recently I just downloaded Back 4 Blood because one of my friends was like, hey, it's the free game for the month on PlayStation Plus. Let's give it a try. And I'm just like, sure. And like, I played classic Left 4 Dead on PC. So I'm like, I get how it operates, how it plays. And getting into Back 4 Blood, knowing that I do still play stuff like Apex, and I still play stuff like Overwatch, and looking at the gameplay for Redfall, and knowing that I'm playing Back 4 Blood, I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes Back 4 Blood tires me the fuck out. Because the first time I played it, we played the first act of Back 4 Blood.
Mm-hmm.
When I looked at it, I looked at those dots on that line. That's telling us how many chapters it was. I'm thinking that's how the acts were split. That's not how that was. That was literally 13 chapters. We were playing that game for 5 hours for the first act. And I'm just like, 5 hours for one section of the game and there's 4 acts? I'm like, they get shorter, but that first act wore me out. I'm like, I can't do this. I'll play it here and there, but you cannot ask me to sit up here and play this again. And I'm pretty sure my homegirl gonna see this. I'm sorry, but I like the games I play, but this Back for Blood ain't getting it for me. It really ain't. So, but to answer the question about Redfall, I think Redfall will be a hit with a specific crowd, like Keem said. But with this newer, younger crowd, and they've seen probably enough of these games as it is, they're gonna look at this and be like, "This don't interest me at all." Or maybe that little subsection of gamers that only do first-person shooters will like this game. So it'll be a hit with some people, and for the rest of them, it won't. So that's the way I see it. It's kind of half and half. Like, it'll land, but it's gonna miss.
I mean, I want everybody else's thoughts before I go ahead and get my little spiel out. So, Terrence, what do you think? Do you think Redfall is the hit that Xbox needs?
I guess the short answer to the question is it really just depends on how polished the game is and like how good the gameplay is and whether it's something that can suck people in as to whether it's going to be the hit that Xbox needs. I'll say that I kind of came into this kind of like feeling half and half. At first, when I saw the gameplay from the developer direct, I was watching it on stream and I was looking at the chat for it, and a lot of people were kind of like, like pretty much like what Raheem and Will said, is that it feels like Back for Blood, feels like Left 4 Dead, feels like something that should have come out a couple of years ago, or during that era when those games were like really popular. But I'll say that I looked at the gameplay again, like I looked at it maybe a couple of hours ago before the podcast, and I do think there's potential there. Like the single player, it does look interesting. There's some things that I think could be polished a little bit more. Like I know some people were talking about the lighting. I think that it could stand to have a few tweaks to it. The gameplay itself, where each of the characters have like their own abilities. Like one of them is like, I don't know if all of them have like psychic abilities or something like that, but they all have something going on for them, and that's pretty cool. The fighting the vampires thing, I mean, like I think you said, Raheem, I mean, fighting vampires, zombies are all supernatural creatures. They have their differences, but it's all kind of falls into the same kind of category. I'm gonna have hope. I'll put it that way. Like I don't think it looks bad, but at the same time, it's not my type of game, so I feel like I can't give too much of a perspective on it. I do think that Arcane has a pretty solid track record. I'm not specifically talking about Arcane Austin, who's developing this game, but just Arcane overall. Arcane overall has a solid track record. So I'm leaning more towards, I think that the game will be good than I think it'll be bad. I do agree, Will, that I think like the kind of audience that's drawn to those kind of games, they'll be on the lookout for it and they'll play it. Whether it's going to be the big hit Xbox needs or not, like I said, it just comes down to how polished it is and whether or not it draws in the audience that it needs. I hope so. I'll say this. At least the fact that it's at least going to be day one on Game Pass, that'll at least get people to check it out. And, if it's trash, then, they'll just uninstall and go from there. But if it's good, they'll keep on playing it, and that'll keep on drawing people to Game Pass. And for those that don't have Game Pass, maybe that'll get them to go out and buy the full game. So, time will tell. We'll see what happens in May.
I don't disagree with anything y'all saying, but I do have some perspective things. But Devin, what do you think, man? Is Redfall the hit that Xbox needs?
I'm gonna just be honest. I know some people might be like, "Oh, a lot of y'all said the same." Like, no, this is just how I honestly feel. I'm gonna be real. No, I don't think it's the game that Xbox needs. Even Halo wasn't the game that Xbox needed. So,
damn,
Halo didn't save Xbox. So I know Redfall. I'm gonna give my explanation. What Terrence just said about the game looking a little undercooked, I thought the same thing. Certain like spots on like facial animations. I think I even saw like them holding the gun and like the finger looked really weird. Like it was just like static. It wasn't like a natural like holding a gun. I'm like, sometimes that when you're a gamer long enough, sometimes you just kind of develop a sensibility for looking at stuff and saying like that's kind of a small bad sign of a game that just might not be ready or might when it comes out might just wasn't fully cooked yet. Sometimes it's not the case, but like some facial stuff I saw. What I did like the abilities, like they got these. Everybody has like these powers and stuff. This one guy, the weapons are really creative. Like this one guy put out like this like electricity baton and made like an electric explosion. That stuff looks pretty cool. The weapons, it's like little. Actually, looks like, to be honest, Call of Duty Zombies. And now I played a lot of that, and that was in a game inside of a game. So I would want to. I never played the Left 4 Dead game, so that's one thing. Like I said, I didn't have an Xbox. Well, we had an original Xbox, but not a 360. So I just didn't play those games as much. And I know those games were like cult classics. It was just huge. And again, like I said, Halo Infinite didn't save Xbox. Even Back 4 Blood came out and kind of flopped. Like, go back to the drawing board.
That game is like $10 now. I remember seeing it when it came out, and that price just like went down like month after month. It was crazy. I was like, dang, was this game that bad?
That's what I was saying.
And that was like, oh, this is, man, Left 4 Dead is revived, is back. And it's like, yeah, they went back.
That was the same team, I believe, too, that made the Left 4 Dead.
I just thought about that. That's yet another case of a team who made like the original game that was great, going off and doing their own thing. We just saw that with Callisto Protocol, where the original Dead Space team went off, did their own thing, didn't do it as good, and then kind of like the original publisher turns out like a remake or something and ends up doing it better than the people who did it originally.
That could be a case of this. The only difference is this is not like them. This is like a new IP, a new IP and a new IP. So it's like, I don't know. I'm not gonna lie, man. It just looked real like just run of the mill, uninteresting for me personally. Like I'm just like, I just don't see a game like this being a game that's gonna be like a console defining game. I just don't see that right now. It just looks. Okay. And I like first person shooters. I like shooters, but it just looks along the line of something like Zombies from Call of Duty, and that was just a side game in a full game. So I don't know, man. And Zombies was hailed as a great thing, and that was just a side game. This is a full game, you know. Yeah, it's got vampires, but it's vampires, zombies. They both bite you. It's the same thing. You know, if they bite you, you turn into them. So it's basically the same concept, you know. Except for I'd rather be a vampire than a zombie, because at least I still have motor functions. And unless there's some, I mean, it depends. If you want them ravenous vampire, I want to be like Dracula or something, you know. But yeah, I just don't. I don't see it, man. Looking at that trailer, like I said, it has some fun moments, the weapons, the abilities. But I'm like, is this what they saved for last? They should have brought Starfield, man, because this just didn't feel like the thing to show it at the end, you know. I just don't see it. But I will say I feel like the reason why they didn't show Starfield is because they probably had somebody, a QA testing the game. They went out to a planet, got into a wormhole, and they're trying to get them back from that wormhole. So they got to get that straightened out before they can show the game on. It's like, hey man, that dude's stuck in space somewhere. Let's go get him first. So that's my reason why they didn't show Starfield. They like, we had a casualty right now. We got to go fix that before we can show the game off. So, you know. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna be what makes Xbox.
Okay. Shout out to QA.
I know, right?
Shout out to QA doing their jobs. I know they working hard. Whether or not they being listened to at every developer is up for debate, but they definitely working hard.
Shoot, some games seem like they ain't got no QA department nowadays.
They got them. It's just, you know, ain't no point in having them if you just gonna be like, hey, if QA come, hey man, you know this game it get broken. Like it just like the disc straight shoots out of the console and the system melts when you get to the second stage, and then you just like yeah, and you just ignore them. Like ain't no point in having QA then, and that's what happens a lot. Like you know, you have QA come in there and they've pointed out all of the flaws, all the stuff you noticed was broken. They noticed was broken, and they told the developers, and the developers was like, push the put out the game button. Push that button.
Hey, QA stands for quit asking questions.
Hey, boss man. So I'm fighting the second stage boss, and every time I hit him, he gains life instead of loses. Oh yeah, we put that in there. That's actually part of the game. You doing it right. Just keep hitting him. It'll eventually by another hour, so it'll drain. Just keep hitting him. He keeps gaining life. Like I
die after an hour.
Oh my god. All right. Okay, so let's just go ahead and. I don't know that Redfall is the hit that they need right now, and I'm glad I went.
Excuse me.
I don't give a goddamn about this game.
Freudian
I'm
slip.
still looking at the docket, and I'm still getting it wrong. One more time. Let's get ahead and get this right. I don't know that Redfall is the hit they need because they have a bit of a marketing problem. And I'm glad I went last because, like, y'all just showed me they have a marketing problem. People think it is just another Left 4 Dead, but they have been describing it themselves as a Far Cry. That's how they've described it. They said this is not Left 4 Dead. This is more like Far Cry. The audience, like the way the world is supposed to be this open world. It's supposed to be all these different enemies, dynamic side quests, main storyline missions. It's supposed to be its own thing. And it is not supposed to be no Left 4 Dead. It's supposed to be a multiplayer Far Cry with a better story. And the upsetting thing is that the audience looking for one may not be looking for the other. And we had Back 4 Blood come out not that long ago, and it was a minor hit for like a short period of time. And it took, a couple weeks later, that shit fell off, and nobody ever talked about it again. But I do have faith because Arcane Austin, they made Prey. Prey was considered one of the best games of 2017. You would hope that they took some lessons from Arcane Leon for their level design. Arcane Leon has always been known for its level design. Yes. The Dishonored games, the Deathloop game, they've been known for that. So you would hope that they had, either took some lessons from them or worked together, little cross pollination, so to speak. I don't think that's the right word, but what I'm talking about, like just basically asking for help, from Arcane Leon when they need it to create a game that has like engaging level design. But the problem is like it might be a hit. Redfall might be a hit if people understand that it's got more for those who's looking for more of a story-based experience. Even in the 10-minute gameplay trailer, they talked a lot more about story, like what the story is going to be like, what happens when you go to this different area, and like aside from the main story beat, they talked about story a lot in that trailer. They talked about, if you go off the main story and you can help some of the citizens of Redfall, Massachusetts, like, you can, go fight these vampires and shit like that. Like, there's clearly this open, constantly changing world that has a lot of lore to it. And if they hit that right, it'll be a success. And like Arcane Leon, like Prey was, like I said, was considered pretty like a pretty good ass game. The issue is single player and multiplayer don't mesh as well as people think they do. You look at Gotham Knights, and you're not gonna tell me that game wouldn't have been better if it hadn't been a single player game. If it had been single player and you can choose to have one of your an AI ally help you out, but you still just designed it to be a single player experience, like that changes how you design your levels, how you design your boss encounters. It changes all of that. And if it had been a single player game, I think that game would have been better. I think it's going to be a pain to add DLC if that game has sold well. Like it seemed to have sold decently well for overall the year. If that game sold well and you're adding DLC, I think that's going to be a pain. You got to try to figure out, okay, how do we work this into like the multiplayer? You don't want to do all of that. This game, they say it's single player, and that's cool, but it still looks like, and I can tell because y'all talked about it, it still looks like the game that is going to live or die based on how fun it is to get people together on a weekend or a weeknight and shoot up some vampires or zombies. Like everybody was like vampire, zombie, same thing. There's a literary difference, but functionally in a video game, there is no difference. It's the same fucking monster. Yeah. Vampires get more powers, unless you're playing Call of Duty Zombies, in which case they got, I don't know, zombie wizards and all this other bullshit.
Well,
they said
Left 4 Dead, they have some wild powers too.
Some of them zombies Left 4 Dead were wild, but yeah, I get.
But yeah, I mean, like, if I had to peg it, I would say they would be lucky to get an 82. 82 Metacritic would be pretty great. But the thing is, if not enough people understand, like, hey, man, it's supposed to be like Far Cry, and it's supposed to have like a story, and you're supposed to get into these characters and like the writing and all. If they don't hit that, that game's gonna miss. But they does have an advantage. Like y'all, like I think, what was it, Terrence? I think you brought it up. It's an Xbox Game Pass game. It has that advantage going for it. Like at the end of the day, you can try it out by paying $15. That you can't beat that. Like people gonna come in here and be like, oh, well, it's $15. I'll give it a shot. I'm already paying for Game Pass. If it's good, I'll keep playing it. And, word of mouth travels fast. Like a few people that try it out, if that game is legitimately good, if a few people try it out, the next thing you know, if the word of mouth has traveled everywhere and people playing the shit out of it.
That's what happened with Hi-Fi Rush.
That is definitely what happened with Hi-Fi Rush. But it also what Hi-Fi Rush had was just that a dope ass trailer. Like people saw the trailer and immediately was hyped. When people saw the trailer for Redfall, they were like, well, you know what? When people saw that first trailer for Redfall, the cinematic one, like 2 years ago, everybody was like, "Oh shit!" Yeah, everyone's like, "Oh shit, what is this?" And then you see it again. And you see like the first person. And I'm not even necessarily hating on the first person in this particular instance, but it just looked like a lot of games that you've seen before.
Exactly.
And you like, I guess, like, I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. Like, I want nothing more than for that to be a hit, especially since they were looking to talk. They was talking all this big talk about Redfall and Starfield coming out at the same time, coming out first half 2023, and that's looking like that's not going to happen. And so now Redfall is going to have to carry you. That's going to have to carry you for the remainder of the year or the remainder of the first half of the year. And you hope that, by the time Starfield's ready in September or November, whenever, that it's as good or better. Like if Redfall is well received, you'd hope Starfield is as good or better. We don't know. We'll see. I will say that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. So if you like that, I need a few things from you. I need you to do us a favor and hit that subscription button on YouTube. I need you to follow us on Twitter. I need you to follow us on TikTok. Don't just check us out. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody, tell your coworkers. You never know. You might even make a new friend. You tell a coworker, hey, man, these guys dope. We are dope. You're right. And do me a personal favor and have an excellent week. Peace.